Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. Welcome to another year and welcome back to another lawn care season.
Keep it simple and just mow.
I'm so ready to get this year started. Now, if you followed my channel in the past, you know I had a major project done in my backyard. I had a pool installed and everything went pretty smooth. Unfortunately, the heavy machinery that was needed to install the pool, the back and forth motion of the machines going over the turf just totally destroyed the grass, and there was really no way to repair it. So I had to pretty much resod the affected areas. The problem I was having, if I decided to resod the affected areas, there was a chance I would have had to deal with two different grass types. So instead of having to deal with this, I decided to just resod my entire property. Now, while the grass was actively growing, I applied 3 rounds of glyphosate. When I was sure the grass was completely dead, I scalped whatever grass I could and just rototilled the entire area until most of the roots was exposed. And after that, I pulled as much roots as I can and just prepared the turf for new sod. Now, before I ordered the sod, I made sure to take care of all my drainage issues. I had a drainage system installed in my backyard. I did the final grading, and after that I ordered the sod. One of the biggest mistakes I made when I ordered 11 pallets of sod is thinking I can put out all 11 in a short period of time, and that was a total big mistake. Fortunately, I had help. You know who you are. I don't want to call you out in the video, but definitely appreciate your help. Laying the sod is really not hard. The things you want to keep in mind is try to stagger the grids or stagger the seams as much as you can. But if you don't stagger the seams, it's okay. It's not the end of the world. The grass will eventually fill in. But the most important thing is if you have hills or very steep slopes, you want to make sure you apply your sod in a perpendicular pattern. You don't want to apply it going up and down. And the reason why is because if the sod is laid going across on the hill, any water coming down from the hill is going to have a harder time making the sod actually move. But if the sod is actually placed up and down, any amount of water is going to easily lift the sod out of place, and there's a good chance you'll have movement, especially if you have a lot of water flowing down the hills. So the most important thing is to just lay your sod perpendicular going across, so this way you don't have to deal with any movements. And again, stagger the seams if you can, but it's not the end of the world if you don't do that. After laying the sod, the most important thing is to try to roll it or find something heavy to actually go across the turf. I used a roller, and the roller was actually perfect for this because I actually filled it with water. I was able to roll the sod, getting rid of any air pockets and making good soil to sod contact. Now, the sod choice I decided to go with was actually Celebration Bermuda, mainly because I still wanted the look of the Bermuda, but with Celebration Bermuda, there's a little bit of shade tolerance. As per the research, it only needs about 4 to 5 hours of direct sunlight. Most of my turf gets a good amount of sunlight, the front being the most. But the backyard, it does get about 6 to 7 hours of sunlight. Maybe some spots ends up getting about 5 hours of sunlight. But I feel like Celebration Bermuda was actually a better choice for me. I could have gone with Zoysia, but I really love Bermuda so much because I want to be able to have the option to actually do a winter overseed later on when the Bermuda gets established. So this is the other reason why I decided to stick with Bermuda. But I'm sticking with Celebration Bermuda, so it's a different species. It actually grows low to the ground and it gives off a darker blue greenish color, so definitely looking forward to seeing that. Now, when it comes to sod care, one of the most important things you got to keep in mind is your main goal is to prevent the sod from drying out. When sod is actively growing and it's green, the main thing is you got to come out and water multiple times a day in order to keep it from drying out. And you keep doing that until the sod has had time to root itself. And you're trying to keep it from drying out mainly because that hot summer sun is just going to bake it if you don't keep it watered. But the main thing in the summertime or even in the springtime is to water until it roots itself. When it comes to dormant sod is a little bit different. You're still going out and watering the sod to keep it from drying out, but the difference is you're not watering multiple times a day as with actively growing sod. You're actually coming out and just making sure the sod doesn't completely dry out. Fortunately, during the cooler months, you'll have a little bit of a wet weather pattern here and there. So some days may end up being lots of rain, some days little rain, but the main thing is to keep the weather pattern in mind. And if you notice, you go a whole week with no rain, this is the time you can go out and water your sod just to keep it from drying out. In the wintertime, it's really important to prevent desiccation. That's the removal of moisture from something. So your main goal should be to keep the roots watered so that it doesn't dry out, because when it dries out too much, that can actually kill the sod. But fortunately, your sod is dormant, so the water requirements is much more less compared to actively growing sod. But remember, just keep your sod watered. Don't come out multiple times a day, maybe once or twice a week, just to keep it moist and making sure it doesn't dry out. That's like one of the most important things when it comes to dormant sod. Unfortunately, you have to keep doing that process until spring comes, when the sod has had time to green up and root itself. So you have to keep that process going. Fortunately, remember, you can rely on Mother Nature to water it for you, so you shouldn't have to come out too often to keep it moist. Once you get through the winter time and spring comes, you're going to notice the sod is going to start to green up, and with that, the roots will start to come alive and root itself. The other thing I forgot to mention is no pre-emergence. I don't plan to use any pre-emergence this year for obvious reasons. You don't want to use a pre-emergent because you don't have an established grass. You don't have an established sod, so it's really important not to use a pre-emergent, because that's going to affect the root development of the plant and you're going to cause more problems later down the line. So no pre-emergence. When springtime comes, you're going to notice a nice green up, and then you can definitely start your mowing, but mow easy, mow a little bit higher than usual, so this way you don't rip the sod off the turf.